If you're a man who's struggling with bad habits, it could be alcohol, drugs, working too much, getting stressed, or shitty relationships, then there is a simple formula you can use to transform your life for good. This took me from being an alcoholic drug addict with no money or success to running a multi-million-dollar business, having a great relationship with my wife and daughter, and ultimately having joy and connection in life. So if you want to destroy bad habits for good, in today's podcast episode, I'm going to break down the neuroscience approach and the simple steps you can take to make 2024 your best year ever. There are 5 simple steps that I've used to shift the bad habits in my life, and we've used them with over 1,000 men. We're going to be breaking down exactly what they are. The first one is the neural pathways. What actually causes a bad habit to happen within you? Why do we do things to fuck our life up? That's going to be the first step. The second step is going to be identifying the things you want to shift in your life. What do you want to transform in your relationships, your health, your wealth? What's not working? What do you want to change? The third step is going to be stop doing and start doing lists. We're going to break down exactly how you can implement these simple list processes to shift the habits in your life. And the fourth step is going to be repetition. How do we make it stick? How do we make it last so it's not just another thing you start and don't finish? And then finally, we're going to break down the simple accountability principle you can use to make these habits last for life and ultimately have more time, more health, more wealth, better relationships, a better life in general. Step number 1 is actually understanding the neuroscience behind why so many men, so many fathers, so many husbands fuck up their life through bad habits. Whether it's alcohol, drinking, drugs, porn, gambling, social media, getting stressed, procrastination, all of these things happen inside of something called the subconscious mind. As a man, we very rarely fuck up our life on purpose. I guarantee if you've ever done anything that makes your life worse, you haven't sat there going, I really want to fuck up my marriage. Really want to yell at my kids. Can't wait to fucking get shit-faced and hate my life the next day. Can't wait to jack. Like, you don't think about these things. They happen without thinking. That's because they are a default pattern inside of our life. Now, default patterns happen absolutely everywhere. The best example I can give you of this is if you drive a car, that driving happens without thinking. If you get behind the wheel of the car, I guarantee you've driven before and you look up from the dash after 10, 20, 30 seconds at looking at the screen or whatever's on your dash, and you haven't looked at the road. However, you haven't crashed, you haven't killed anyone, and you're still alive. We've all had that moment where we go, fuck, I need to pay more attention. But because you've driven that car so many times, it's simple to do and your brain does it without thinking. It's a subconscious program and pattern. Turning the indicator or blinker light on, changing gears if you're in a manual, who no one is anymore, turning, it all happens autonomously. Another example of this is when you get out of the shower. You dry your body in a very unique way. Some people do their neck first, armpits. You have your own way of drying your body. Test this out next time you get out of the shower. When you wipe your ass, you don't think about wiping your ass, it just happens. Well, it's the exact same with bad habits. If you think of a bad habit like a track in snow or in a grassy field, when you go from point A to point B, your brain looks for the shortest distance to get from point A to point B. So let's say, for example, one of your bad habits is drinking alcohol. You come home after a long day, your brain, without thinking, goes, I'm going to go to the fridge, I'm going to grab a beer, and before you know it, point B, you're sitting on the couch drinking a beer. So there's point A, you come home, point B, you're drinking the beer. All of the stuff that happens in between there is subconscious. You don't think about it, it just happens. And what the brain does from a neuroscience perspective is it starts to build a pattern, a subconscious habit that takes you from point A to point B. Imagine walking through snow and you've walked through the snow or walked through that grass so many times that it starts to forge a path. There's a forest all around you, that path is forged, okay? So the brain now has something that happens by default, happens without thinking. Now the brain's job is to, number 1, lower the perception of threat, and number 2, keep you happy. So happiness actually comes second, which is why so many men end up fucking up their life with bad habits. For me, it was cocaine, drugs, alcohol, weed, porn, gambling, destroying my life, yelling at my wife, getting upset, getting triggered, getting into arguments. All these things happen without thinking. And then once that happened, I'd get really upset at myself, feel guilty, feel shame, and try and fix it. But the cycle kept repeating. Why does the cycle keep repeating? Because what happens with the brain is when the brain feels threatened, the instant default response, the pattern inside of your brain is to lower the perception of threat. What happens when you feel threatened, when you feel stressed, when you feel angry, when you feel triggered, when you've had a rough day, when you're upset at your wife, when you get into an argument, your brain goes primitive and it tries to lower that threat and it goes for something comfortable, something to sedate that threat, to lower that fight, flight, freeze, or fuck off response. That's the cortisol response in your body. When you get triggered, when you get heightened, when you have a problem, your body releases cortisol, it releases stress. Your brain, by default, tries to lower that, and you go to a pattern that makes you feel comfortable. These things all make us feel comfortable in the moment. Alcohol, drugs, porn, gambling, whatever it is that the bad habit is. So how do we fix this if our brain is literally making us do the shit that doesn't serve us? You're literally battling your psychology. Well, now that we understand how the brain works, we have to design a new habit. Old habits are extremely difficult to get rid of. They never go away. That path you've forged in your brain is always going to be there. And when you feel threatened, when you're stressed, when you're angry, when you're triggered, when you're tired, your brain is going to want to follow that simple path. Old habits are hard to break. New habits are very easy to create and make. And the way you do this is by understanding that your brain is subconsciously trying to go the old path. Every time it does that, you have to make it conscious. You have to bring it to the forefront of your attention and go, cool, that pattern is happening again. It's not who I am. It's just my brain trying to do the shit to keep me safe. I'm not going to choose safety and security. I'm not going to choose lowering threat. I'm going to choose the second thing my brain wants, which is happiness. And then you consciously choose a new pattern. You choose a new habit. So you come home, you want to drink alcohol. You go, I'm doing that thing again. You're aware of it. You choose instead to go for a walk around the block. I want to watch porn. I'm choosing instead to read a book. My wife said something that triggers me. The old habit is I get angry. I'm choosing to take a breath. It sounds so simple, but understanding how the brain works through neural pathways, like a path you're forging in snow, is the first step to changing bad habits. What is currently going on in your brain is subconscious. You've got to make it hyper-conscious. Step number 2 is identifying the habits that you actually want to shift. There are 3 key areas you can control or master as a man. They are your health, your wealth, and your relationships. Your health is physical and mental. It might be your weight, how you feel in terms of your fitness, your energy levels, your libido or sex drive. Mentally, it's how you think, it's how you feel, it's how you deal with stress and pressure. That's your health. Then you have your wealth. It's your time management. Again, stress and pressure. It's the money you make, the freedom you have. That's the wealth component in your business or career. And then we have relationships, which is the connection with your wife or children, the connection with yourself, the intimacy, the communication. Those are the 3 core areas. Now, what you want to do is identify in your health, what are the bad habits? What are the things you do or don't do that take you further away from happiness, that keep you safe? Drinking alcohol, we know is not good for us. Smoking weed, taking drugs, watching porn, it's not good for us. We all know that. But our subconscious mind, as we know, is following an old neural pathway. It's following an old system. So the first step to change the system is to go, what is the fucking system? What is my body following? So in my health, what are the bad habits I want to shift? Is it going into the fridge at the end of the day? Is it drinking too much? Is it drinking at all? Is it smoking weed? Is it jacking off? What are the bad physical habits in my health? The same in my wealth. Is it procrastination? Is it not leading my team enough? Is it not upskilling? What are the bad habits in my business, wealth, or career? Is it spending too much money? And then what are the bad habits in my relationships? Is it getting angry at my wife? Is it not spending enough time with my kids? Is it working late, wealth and relationships, and not being there and present with my family? The first step to change any problem in your life is to identify what the fucking problem is. Have awareness of where you currently are in your health, wealth, and relationships, and ask yourself what needs to change. Now, there are two ways to change anything in your life. The first one is through pain, and the second one is through pleasure. For a lot of men, they need to go through so much fucking pain to finally make a change. They've got problems in their relationship, bad habits. They're arguing with their wife. They're not having sex. They're disconnected. The wife keeps getting upset, telling him he needs to change. And then finally, when the wife says, I don't love you anymore, I want a divorce, the man goes, fuck, I need to change. He's delayed that pain of making a change until the pain gets so great that his wife decides to leave. A lot of men become overweight and see their gut keep growing. They feel their heart beating faster at night. They drink more and they take more substances to keep going. And then they don't change anything until they have a heart attack. The best way you can make a change in your life is by shortening the pain threshold. What does this mean? If you know that you're overweight or you have a bad habit with eating, if you know you drink too much, if you know you work too much, if you know you're disconnected in your relationship, once you've identified that bad habit, instead of waiting for the later pain to come, ask yourself, what is the cost of inaction, the COI, of not changing this habit? Like, go to the worst case scenario. The habit might just be jacking off and watching porn once a day. It might sound simple. What is the worst case scenario here? What is the cost of inaction a year from now, 5 years from now, if I don't change this habit? If I don't stop working so much and being so stressed, what's the worst case scenario? I know in myself with my business right now, we've scaled rapidly, we're helping more men, we're making more money. However, we have higher expenses. I'm way more stressed and I'm constantly thinking about work, which is ironic because I coach on balance for business owners and high-performing men. I know that the worst case scenario, if I sit with myself and identify the bad habit, I work a lot, I get stressed a lot. That's a bad habit. I know the worst case scenario is in a few years, I'm not here for my daughter. That is way more painful than, oh yeah, I'm just a little bit stressed. So what is the cost of inaction once you've identified these habits of not changing them? The second way to change is return on investment. So if you were to change this habit, what would be the best thing that could happen for you? What would be the highest return on investment? If I change the habit of drinking every night, then I could live an extra 20 years. I'm there for my granddaughters and grandsons. I'm there to be providing for my family. If you can identify the bad habits in your health, wealth, relationships, then you ask yourself, what's the cost of inaction of not changing these things? What's the return on investment of me changing them? You're gonna get a lot more clarity on the why behind changing this habit. Why is it important for you to live a different life and transform in the new year? Why is it important for your family for you to destroy these bad habits? Why is it important to build new habits? Why? Once you understand what the habits are, you got to ask yourself why. Why should I change them? What's the worst case scenario? What's the best case scenario? What's the return on investment of making these shifts? Third step here is just as important as the first two, and that's stop doing and start doing lists. So now that we understand the neuroscience behind how habits actually form, they happen through neural pathways in your brain. It's a default response. It happens without thinking. We also understand that we now have to be aware of what the bad habits are in our health, wealth, and relationships. What's the cost of not changing it? What's the return on investment of changing it? The next step is, how do we change it? And that is done through stop doing and start doing lists. These are simply writing down what are the things you're going to stop doing or do less of. So simply just saying, I'm going to do less of this habit. You're either going to stop doing it entirely, I'm not going to drink at all, or I'm going to do less of it. I might drink 2 drinks a week maximum. Setting a standard, writing down a commitment, which is the first step to doing anything in life, by simply saying, I'm going to stop doing these things. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to stop doing these bad habits in my health. I'm going to stop doing these bad habits in my wealth. I'm going to stop doing these bad habits in my relationships, or I'm going to do less of these things. On top of that, we have start doing and do more lists. Earlier, I mentioned that it's really hard to get rid of an old habit. It never goes away. But what you can do is you can start doing a new habit to get you from A to C. The neural pathway gets you from A to B. We want to take you from A to C. We want to build a new pathway. We want to do that pathway so many times that it becomes repeated in our brain and it becomes the new default response. So once you've got your stop doing list, what can you replace these habits with? For me, I drank a lot of alcohol back in the day to deal with stress. My way of dealing with stress was come home, switch off the brain because I was so fucking up here with all the stuff that I had going on, and I'd have 1, 2 whiskeys. Then it became 4, 5, 6. Now I decided after a big fucking night, I got into an argument with my wife and I ran to my balcony and jumped off because I wanted to run away from that argument. Now after that moment, I knew something needed to change. So I decided I'm gonna stop drinking alcohol. And I went cold turkey, but I still had the stress. The reason I drank alcohol because it was lowering the threat. My brain was trying to protect me from all the stress. So what I began replacing alcohol with was whenever I felt like having a drink, I'd get down and do 10 push-ups, or I'd go for a walk around the block. I just started training my brain consciously to choose a different path. And now I don't need alcohol anymore because I started doing a new habit, something physical for my body. So what can you stop doing or do less of? Write a list. What can you start doing, do more of? Write a list. Now understand, you don't want to do all of this at once either. Do one thing a month. Do one thing every, quarter. Once you've made that habit a new habit and it's stuck, that's when you can move on to the new thing. A big thing I see with our clients and men in general and humans in general is we try to do way too much at once. And it just simply doesn't fucking work. Now, the 4th step is going to help you immensely with this. But before you move forward, as you plan 2024, what are you going to stop doing and do less of? What are you going to start doing and do more of to make your life better, to transform your life, and to destroy bad habits? The 4th step is extremely simple. It won't take long to explain it all. And that is called repetition. I've talked about this in many podcasts and many videos before. If I'm at the gym pumping iron, doing bicep curls, the more bicep curls I do, the more stress gets put on that muscle, the more repetitions, the more it grows. It's the exact same with building new habits. You've got to put in the repetitions. And from a neuroscience perspective, it takes 3 lots of 21 repetitions to make that habit stick. All these gurus out there who say it's 10, 12, 14, 21, it's all bullshit. It's 3 sets of 21. And that is the goal you've got to aim for. With any new habit, you've got to put into place 21 repetitions and do that 3 times in a row if possible. One of the things we teach our Empowered Man clients that's changed my life immensely is a morning routine to power up. Getting up on time, having energy, moving your body, breathing, journaling, getting your thoughts out on paper. The men who do this 63 days in a row, 3 lots of 21, it becomes a lifestyle. They do it for life. They've got more energy, they've got more time, they make more money, their relationships are better. It's simply through this new habit that helps them empower themselves each day. So that is the number you've got to go for. Once you've got your start doing list and your stop doing list, you want to do 63 days, 3 lots of 21 of not doing the bad thing, and 3 lots of 21 of doing the thing that makes your life better. And the 5th and final step is accountability. It's having somebody to hold you accountable. Because if we're realistic, most men, and I used to be like this for most of my life, don't know how to look after ourselves. We just don't give a fuck about ourselves. We'll sacrifice our time, energy, effort, and money for our children. We'll do anything for our loved ones, but we go to the bottom of the barrel. Which makes sense because as men, we've been told it's selfish to put yourself first, which is complete bullshit. When you put yourself first, everyone else wins. But one of the best ways you can build a new habit is by making it public. You see, if you say to yourself you're gonna change, you can just not do it and no one's gonna know. That voice in your head's gonna know, and you're gonna build a belief system that you're full of shit and don't follow through. But if you do this exercise, you understand how neuroscience in the brain works, you understand neural pathways, and that your brain's just doing what's easy. You understand the habits you want to shift in your health, wealth, relationships. You create stop doing and start doing lists. You decide you're gonna do 63 repetitions, and then you go through with the final step, accountability. You start telling the people you care about. You say to your partner or wife, hey, I've got these bad habits I'm aware of. I'm gonna do these new things for 63 days. Can you hold me accountable? Can you pull me up on my shit if I don't follow through? I'm gonna get out of bed every single day at this time. If I don't, can you tell me? Can you ask me why I'm not doing it? Tell your children. tell your partner, tell the people that you care about so that they can hold you accountable. Because there's nothing wrong as a man with feeling some guilt. There's gonna be some guilt there of letting someone down. And I don't know about you, as a father, as a husband, I don't wanna let my family down. If me not getting out of bed is me saying fuck you to my family because I'm lying to them, I'm jumping out of bed. If me grabbing that alcohol when I told my wife I'm not gonna rely on substances anymore, then I'm gonna not do that fucking thing. So there's two types of accountability. There's three types. There's the accountability within yourself. Most men struggle to create this, and I'll tell you how to get it in a second. There's the accountability from your loved ones. That is a very powerful force. But the third type of accountability is having a coach. It's having someone who's been through what you're going through, someone who's trained in building habits for you, someone who knows the roadblocks and barriers you're gonna go through. And it's crazy because so many successful men, they make money in their career or business, they're successful in that area, they don't invest in themselves. Every successful business owner, every billionaire, every sports star has a coach. And that's exactly why the Empowered Man exists. One of the things we do for our clients is we hold you accountable. We check in with you, we make sure you're doing the program. So I'd highly recommend, if you do want to change bad habits in 2024, you get some form of a coach. You get someone to hold you accountable that's not your family, still tell your family what you're going to do. And that coach's job is to hold you accountable for long enough that you can do it for yourself for life. I used to be a personal trainer before I ran Empowered Man, and I used to coach clients every single day. And I also had a personal trainer for myself, which is ironic because I was a PT. There was a certain point after a year or two where I didn't need that trainer anymore, and now I can exercise every day. I don't have to think about it. There's no resistance to it. It's just who I am now because I was held accountable long enough. A good example of accountability is brushing your teeth. I'm assuming if you're an adult watching this video, you brush your teeth. I hope. I'm assuming if you have children, that they brush their teeth. But how do they brush their teeth? If they're young children, you have to remind them over and over and over again. If you currently brush your teeth as a grown man, it's because you were held accountable for long enough for it to become a lifestyle. And this is really how you build a lifestyle, not just habits, things you do for life that make you more money, give you more time, give you more connection, ultimately give you the life you deserve in 2024 and beyond. So accountability is so important from yourself, from the people you love, but also from a coach or a mentor to keep you on the right track. Before we recap all these 5 steps, they have changed my life. They've taken me to millions of dollars in revenue. They've kept my marriage together. They've helped me become a better father and husband. And if you'd like help making 2024 or whatever year you're watching this your best year ever, then I highly recommend you get some support. Down below this video, there'll be a link you can click to book a coaching session with my Empowered Man team. And on this session, we'll literally build out your custom Empowered Man roadmap to build new habits in 2024. Whether you want to fix a marriage or relationship, whether you want to become a better father and reconnect with your kids, whether you want that work-life balance you deserve, more money, more success, better health, whatever your goals are, you're gonna have to change your habits. Because by definition, if you're not where you want to be, you got to do different things to become somebody different. You got to change. And if you're struggling to do that, don't make this another year where you do it on your own. Go down below, book a coaching session with our team, and we'll literally build out your custom Empowered Man roadmap for you to do this. All right, so let's recap all of these steps. 1, neural pathways. The brain works by default. It keeps you safe. That's why you have bad habits. Number 2, you want to identify the habits in your health, wealth, relationships you want to shift. Number 3, stop doing and start doing lists. What are you going to stop doing? What are you going to start doing? What's the return on investment? The cost of inaction. Make the pain real. Take that later pain, bring it into the moment. Number 4, repetitions. Whatever habits you start doing or not doing, 63 reps, 3 sets of 21 to make it a lifestyle. And number 5, you need accountability. I hope you got value from this. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Make sure you comment down below. And if you do want some support building these habits, go to the link in the description and we'll build out your custom Empowered Man.